grass. Keep off the grass, which naturally corresponded to this definition that I've just given you. Off plus the grass, off is a preposition. If you just say keep off or keep away without anything, then you are just designating the direction or the place or the space where something should happen. In that sense, it is an adverb, prilog, what we call in Serbian. So why is this first sentence in a way tricky, and why I left it for the very end? So here's the explanation. What is the restaurant like? So based on the examples that I've just given you, you would assume that like has to be followed by something, has to be followed by a noun phrase in order for it to be treated as a preposition. Then how come, as you can see in the slide, how come we treat it as a preposition here? Why is it then a preposition if it's not followed by a noun phrase? Well, it is actually followed by a noun phrase. You just don't see it here because this is a question. The form of this utterance is a question. What is the restaurant like? If you, for instance, want to provide an answer and you say, I don't know, the restaurant is like a castle, for instance, then it's obvious that like is actually linked to a noun phrase, that it is followed by a noun phrase, and that is why it is a preposition. It's just, the thing is just that in this case, it's a question, and because it's a question, you know that you have to apply certain structural transformations, and that's why like somehow appears to be on its own here, although it's not. Okay, so is this clear? Does this make sense?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so once more, don't get confused by the fact that you will sometimes find a preposition, we call it a stranded preposition. You will find it somewhere at the end of the sentence, seemingly on its own, but it's really not on its own. Like, for instance, the town that I'm from is, I don't know, Sombor. The town that I'm from. It doesn't mean that from is on its own. You are from the town, you are from Sombor, but it is there just because of structural reasons which enable the preposition to be left on its own, and it's called stranding. Okay, so we will deal with it later. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you in this first example, and I hope now you understand why I left it for the very end, because this is actually something that is not in accordance with what you should generally know about prepositions and adverbs. But now I hope it makes sense after we've done everything else. So these are the other examples. We have already dealt with all of them. I will just repeat the solutions right away. You have them all. I just want to say a few things, additional things about the last example. She is friendly, because this is where we have had to end our class abruptly, and it was, I think, already 10:31 or something like that last week. So she's friendly, and now all of a sudden this is an adjective, and we all agreed that it's an adjective, but what could possibly make you think, although it's not, but what would make you think that it could be another part of speech? What's maybe strange about its morphological structure? Look at the word friendly. Do you maybe see an ending, a suffix that is not really always associated with adjectives?
Maybe an adverb?
You see, this li actually is a typical ending for adverbs. Like, for instance, you have an adjective quick, you have an adverb quickly. You have an adjective surprising, you have an adverb surprisingly. Beautiful, beautifully. So li is a typical ending for forming adverbs, not adjectives. However, and now be very careful, please, because this usually occurs in the test as well and in the final exam. Friendly belongs to a very restricted group of words ending in ly, or the suffix li, which is not an adverb, but an adjective. And I would now just like you to maybe write them down or memorize them. There are just 7 or 8 of these in the English language, but they are quite frequent. For instance, friendly, and then, of course, unfriendly. Cowardly. I hope that at least some of you have watched the cartoon, the animated film, Courage the
Cowardly dog.
Courage the cowardly dog. That's where you see, actually, you see cowardly dog. As soon as it pre-modifies a noun, it is actually, it's a very good proof that it's an adjective. So friendly, unfriendly, cowardly, lovely, it's a lovely day, see, lovely, lively, she gave a lively performance, so this is also an adjective. And then all those which actually describe certain family relationships, like sisterly, brotherly, motherly, fatherly, and so on. For instance, she has motherly feelings for him. Now, how can you actually prove that although they end in ly, they are not adverbs, they are adjectives? Well, the first proof was this one, that they co-occur with nouns, they pre-modify nouns. The second proof is that if you try to use them in an adverbial position, you will actually not be able to do that. You will have to apply certain transformations. Like, for instance, you can't say she behaves motherly. She behaves in a motherly way or in a motherly manner. Or, for instance, she behaved cowardly. You can't say that. It's either her behavior was cowardly, which is then a proof that it's an adjective, or she behaved in a cowardly way, in a cowardly manner. So you have to make a prepositional phrase and again use it actually as an adjective, in a cowardly way, in a cowardly manner. There is also a third possibility, not so frequent today, fashion. You can say in a cowardly fashion, in a motherly fashion, in a friendly fashion. Okay, just be careful, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about this. Be careful about the use of 2 words which again seemingly end in ly, like ugly and silly. So ugly and silly, they are obviously adjectives. An ugly house, a silly question. But they are even, let's say, it's even easier to prove that they are adjectives because you can't really segment them the way you did with friendly, for instance. Friendly actually came into existence by what? It has 2 parts, friend plus li. Cowardly is coward plus li. Lovely is love plus li. However, there is no such word as ug. So it's not ug plus li. It's not sil plus li, and then you get silly. But I'm just stressing this because students tend to react quickly and not think about it, that when you see ugly and silly, I have this ly suffix, or li. This is a typical suffix for adverbs. This could be an adverb. So all these that I've listed, plus ugly and silly, they're always adjectives. So unfriendly, friendly, cowardly, lovely, lively, and so on, plus ugly, silly, they can never be anything else but adjectives. Okay, so it's time to move on to the next exercise, and it's really the next one in your workbook as well, number 2. It says, at the end of each sentence, you will find a label for a part of speech. Underline any words in the sentence that belong to that part of speech. So you read the sentence, you see that then at the very end, there is a part of speech given in italics, and you have to actually find and underline all words in this sentence that belong to that particular part of speech. So let me now see how this works and whether we are all here. So, for instance, is Philip Dymowski here? Philip, is Philip here? Okay, if not, is, for instance, Milivoj Popov here?
Yes, yes. Oh,
Okay,
here.
so Milivoj is here. Okay, Milivoj, what would you do with this first one? Where would, you can read it out loud and tell me where the verbs are.
For example, told is the
Okay,
verb.
told, yes, very good. So told would be the first one. Yes, then, are there any more?
Leave, maybe.
Leave. Yes, very good. So did is not, it's an auxiliary, and it's good that you did not underline it. Leave is a verb. And anything else?
Jail, maybe.
Aha, very good. Again, would is an auxiliary, it's not a verb. And jail is a verb. Okay, excellent. So once more, it's important when you are given the task to find verbs, you disregard auxiliaries. Auxiliaries are called auxiliary verbs, but we do not treat them. If you remember last time when we dealt with open class and closed system words, we said that auxiliaries belong to closed system words and they are not treated as verbs, really. Okay, B. Sara Samardzic, is Sara here?
I'm here.
Good, fine. So could you please find pronouns in sentence B? You should help yourself to some tea. I don't want any, thank you.
Yourself.
Good, but before yourself, can you find one which is rather obvious?
You.
Okay, so it's you, then it's yourself, as you said. Anything else? Try to look at the second part, at this second sentence.
Maybe I.
I, good. And there are some more, actually, two more.
Annie.
Annie, good. And
you.
And you, good. I don't want any, thank you. Now, this was a good example because I guess you can all recognize you and I and you as pronouns. They are personal pronouns. It's very frequent and it's what you think of when we say pronoun. However, I told you that you should bear in mind that pronouns are not just personal pronouns. Yourself is, for instance, a reflexive pronoun. I don't want any. Look at this one. If we say I don't want any tea, if you remember, then I told you that any is a determiner if it's followed by a noun. If it's not followed by a noun, it actually replaces any tea. That's why any here is a pronoun. Good. Okay, let's look at the third one. Is Marko here? Marko Adžić?
I'm here.
Okay, good. So let's try to find the conjunctions in the third one. I went there so as to congratulate him on his victory, although we were opponents. So anything that connects.
What's that racket?
Sorry?
I hear a noise somewhere.
Me too.
Irritating.
So can you see something that?
Oh yes, yes. Maybe that's and as.
Okay, so as to, you see.
Yes.
Now this is a very good example to show you that not only one single word sometimes makes up actually a unit. This unit is comprised this unit consists of three elements. So as to. So the whole thing, so as to, is the conjunction here. So if you think of the situation in Serbian, it's similar. da bi ili da bismo ili tako nešto. Okay, so this is what we call namerni veznik in Serbian, so as to. That's the first element, and there is another one which is more obvious,
Okay.
which is just one word.
Okay.
This one, although.
On.
Although, that would be the
Although.
one. Okay, because you connect, you link another dependent clause. Like, for instance, she didn't want to come, although she was invited. So there are two clauses, one dependent and one main one. She didn't want to come is the main clause, although she was invited. And this is how you join them by means of conjunctions. I na srpskom ih zovemo, ali tako, zavisni veznici. So I went there so as to congratulate him on his victory, and then we were opponents. So how would you link them? By means of using this one word conjunction. Okay. Thank you. The next one, for instance, Milica Petrović, is she here? Okay, if Milica is not here, is Mila Jović here?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. So, Mila, he works extremely hard. I hardly ever see him. So what do you think about this one?
Extremely hard.
Very good. So just be careful that you do underline them separately. First, extremely, then hard. These are all separate words. What do you think? There are some other examples as well.
And then hardly.
Hardly. And there is another one.
Ever.
Ever. So all these are adverbs. All these are what we in Serbian call prilozi. Okay, parts of speech which, let's say, specify or describe the verb, the verbal activity more precisely in terms of time, place, manner, reason, and so on. And their function in the sentence is usually adverbial, if you remember priloška odredba. Okay, good. Do we have Jovana Davidović here?
Yes.
Can you maybe just speak up a bit, because I'm not sure I hear you well?
Maybe those.
Okay, I kind of hear you. I don't know whether the other people can hear you, but let's try to do it. Determiner, they need 3 times that amount of food for all those people. So if you remember, determiners are those words which pre-modify nouns, which stand before the noun, but which are not adjectives.
Those.
Good, it's those. I don't want to, it's correct, but I don't want to underline it since there are some other determiners before this one, and then I will reveal it to you. Those is a determiner. Even all is a determiner, which is before those. But there is something in the first half of the sentence as well.
They.
3 times, that's the first one. 3 times, that's what we would call trostruko in Serbian. You see, it all refers to this noun amount. You specify the amount of food. And even that, so 3 times trostruka ta količina. 3 times that, and then what you said, all those and people. You see, once again, you have the noun amount, you have the noun people. How you pre-modify or specify or describe these 2 nouns is by using, in this case, determiners, not adjectives. There are no adjectives here, as you can see. So whatever is not an adjective and determines the noun, comes before the noun, describes the noun, is called a determiner in English. Okay, let's hear from Andrea Nojčić, if she's here. Does Andrea hear us? Okay, then Dunya Knežev, is she here?
Yes.
Okay, Dunya. So your task is to find auxiliaries. He might have been questioned by the police, I'm not sure.
Might.
Good. The first one is might, then. I remember that sometimes you have more than one in a sequence. They are not restricted to just one.
Have.
Good. And even another one.
Been.
Yes, because you see question. So
Yeah.
this is in the passive voice. That might confuse you, but this is in the passive voice, and this question is just the main verb. Might, have, and been are all auxiliaries. Now this is good, and there are no more auxiliaries here. And I'm now asking you, why is am, the last one? I am not sure. Why is am not an auxiliary here? And it's not. What would be the explanation for the verb be not being an auxiliary here? If you remember, be can be either an auxiliary or a main lexical verb. So if you remember, in order for something to be an auxiliary, there has to be one other verb next to it. There has to be a main verb. Since there is no other verb here, I'm not sure, you see. Sure is an adjective, not is just a negative particle. So there is nothing else after am. Am is the only verb here, like I'm a student, for instance, or she is in the garden. In such cases, if there is no other verb, then you cannot treat be as an auxiliary. It has to be the main verb. Okay. The next one, let's look at Teodora Đorđević. Is she here?
I'm here.
Good. So she's funny and always laughs in a silly way. Let's find the adjectives.
Funny.
Good. Funny. Oh, sorry. That was the explanation of the last one. Yes, funny.
Laughs in a silly way.
Now let's find the adjective in this one. So funny, an adjective, and in this one, the other part, there is one adjective as well.
Silly.
Silly, yes. If you remember, in the previous exercise, I've just explained why silly is an adjective, even though it ends in ly. So silly is always an adjective. Okay, good. Jovan Lazičić, do we have Jovan here?
Yes.
Good, Jovan. Let's find the nouns in the next one. The fire at the National Museum caused great damage.
The fire.
Okay, it's just that we will underline only fire because there would be a determiner. Good, fire. What else?
National Museum.
Good, but again, just museum because national is an adjective. And?
Damage.
And damage. Good, excellent. So fire, museum, and damage. Nouns. Good. Nikola Tomic is here or not? Or have I already asked him maybe?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Nicola, prepositions. Okay, this one, I admit, is somewhat more tricky than the previous sentences. Leave that box up onto that shelf next to the other boxes. So, once again, prepositions are those words, those parts, that part of speech which establishes a kind of spatial or temporal relationship with a noun phrase, before a noun phrase. So can you maybe first locate the noun phrases, and then it would be easier for you to see where the prepositions are, or you can maybe target the prepositions immediately.
I can't see the example. I don't see the screen.
You don't see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, does anyone else have problems seeing the screen?
No, I see it.
Well, then
Let
I'm
me try
very
to look for it.
You have
Perhaps it's because of my phone.
the workbook.
well. If it's a problem for you, then unfortunately you should at least today just look at the workbook. I mean, these are the very same examples.
Oh, okay.
So try to follow this in the workbook. It's once again, it's example I in exercise 2 on page 22.
Exercise 2 on page 22.
Exercise 2, page 22, example I. So lift that box up onto that shelf next to the other boxes. So we need let me help you, there are two prepositions.
Okay. Just a second, please.
So what do you think? Where would the prepositions be?
Page 22. Okay, example I, right?
Lift that box up onto that shelf next to the other boxes. So we are looking for
Two
prepositions.
prepositions.
So try to locate the noun phrases. Once you see the noun phrases, then you will probably be able to see where these spatial relationships are designated. So for instance, try to look at that shelf. So what comes before that shelf?
Lift that box up onto that shelf.
So onto would be the first one. Up is not a preposition. Up is
just
an
onto.
adverb. I will explain why at the end. But there is another one.
Next.
Let's look. Next to. So once again, don't be hesitant to sometimes include more than one word into one unit, which is called a part of speech. For instance, if you say in front of the house, the whole thing in front of would be treated as a preposition, even though it consists of 3 elements. So that should not bother you. Next to is one unit, even though it is like separately written as 2 words. Next to, in front of, and so on. So once again, now, why are onto and next to prepositions and up is not a preposition? So I'm asking you, could you just have said, leave that box up, full stop? Yes.
No. Well,
yes, that would have been
possible.
Leave that box where? Up. But could you have said, leave that box onto?
No.
No, you see? Onto requires a noun phrase in order to be grammatically acceptable. Up, on the other hand, if you say, where should I leave that box? And someone says, oh, lift it up. Lift that box up, full stop. That's something different. So it can stand on its own, and it only points to a place, a space where you should lift the box. Okay? Let me just now, it refers to everyone. Let me just now give you one example with up where you would see very well whether it's a preposition or an adverb. If you say she was running up the stairs, full stop, and she was running up, full stop, which one is an adverb? So she was running up the stairs, full stop. She was running up, full stop.
Up the stairs.
Up the stairs.
Well, up the stairs would be a preposition then, because it requires a noun phrase. If it doesn't require a noun phrase, if it can stand on its own, if it's okay, where was she running? She was running up. Then it's an adverb, you see? So that's the difference. In this one, lift that box up onto that shelf. It's not followed by a noun phrase. It's followed by onto that shelf, which is a prepositional phrase, and it could have ended after up. Lift that box up. But you couldn't have ended it with lift that box up onto. So onto is clearly a preposition here requiring a noun phrase. The same thing with next to. Leave that box up next to what? Next to something. So you need a noun phrase. That's why it's a preposition. So that's the same thing in Serbian. You have the same thing. Predlozi su nešto što ostvaruje neku vrstu vremenskog ili mesnog odnosa sa imeničkom sintagmom koja sledi. U kući, ispred dvorišta, na krovu, oko 5 sati i slično. Tu ne možete nikad reći oko, vidimo se oko. Ili stavi ne znam, torbu na, mislim na šta. Okay, so in such cases, it's a preposition. Okay, the last one in this exercise is Dušica here.
I'm here.
Okay, Dušice. So you need to find adverbs in. She's so lucky. She's never at home, but always away, usually abroad. So let me help you. Many adverbs here.
Okay. She's, I don't know if there is in the first sentence.
Yes, there is one in the first one as well.
Maybe so.
So, yes, very good. How do you know that so is an adverb? Even if you're not sure about the word itself, about so, you just look at lucky. Lucky is an adjective. What did I tell you? If you have an adjective, anything that describes an adjective, anything that comes before an adjective has to be an adverb. Like extremely sad, very nice, quite beautiful, so lucky. You see, it has to be an adverb. Okay. Then which is the next one?
She's never at home.
So where is the adverb here? Sorry?
Maybe at.
Well, at can't be an adverb. At is followed by a noun phrase. So if it's followed by a noun phrase and if it shows a spatial relationship with this noun phrase, then it's a preposition. So what's before at? That's the one.
Never.
Never. Prilog, vremenski prilog. Dobro, ovo Laki vam kaže da je adjective. Ovo je never je vremenski prilog. Okay. But then there is another one which is similar to never, just the opposite.
Always.
Always.
And usually.
Usually. This is just to explain why away is not here. Here it's not an adverb. If you look at the meaning under adjectives, so not adverbial meanings, but the bottom of the page here, you see adjectives. The first meaning is absent. The neighbors are away. So this is treated as an adjective. But don't get frustrated by this. This is quite difficult, and we won't give such examples in the test. But just for you to see why away is an adjective here. But you were right. Usually is an adverb. And then the last one, again, where is she? She is abroad.
Abroad.
An adverb. You see? So adverbs here are so, never, always, usually, and abroad. You can conclude that they almost inevitably refer to place, time, or in the case of so, to modifying the adjective that is next to it. Okay, the third one, again.
I'm sorry, I have a question about this example. Why is away an adjective, but abroad is not an adjective?
Well, away. Let me go back to that example. Away is here described. You see, the neighbors are away. So away can be either an adjective or an adverb, as you can see, depending on how it is used. Now, abroad doesn't really function as an adjective ever. Like, for instance, you would always just ask where. You would always just ask about the place. And yeah, Sasha can join as well because he's doing the thing with his group as well.
Yeah, and I'm the one moving the pointer. So fundamentally, for away, you will not be able to replace it with there. The neighbors are there. You will have to say the neighbors are absent. For abroad, you will have to say the neighbors are there.
So it really does seem replaceable by an adverbial proform of place.
So that's the whole point. You try to think of a similar word or a proform. So for abroad, it would be there, or it would be a prepositional phrase like they are in New York or in Hungary.
There or where, yeah.
But for this one, it's absent. So
that's simply like it's not a very let's say clear margin, but for away it's more replaceable by an adjective than abroad. Abroad is not that replaceable by an adjective. It's rather replaceable by an adverbial proform.
That clears it up. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. A joint effort. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Sorry, I needed help with the laser. That's why I called Sasha. I'm not really very apt when it comes to computers. Choose the odd word out in each sentence sequence, sorry, and that's the third one. And that's the one that you have as the third one in the workbook as well, if you are looking at the workbook. So, can, could, want, and need. Which one in this sequence would be the odd word out? In other words, which is the one that does not match the criteria for parts of speech that is actually shared by all these other three items? Okay, let me ask someone. Let's see who's here. Lalić Svetlana, is she here?
Tu sam.
Good. So, Svetlana, what do you think?
Need.
Need. Well, it's not need. You're not that far away, but it's not need. There is one which is further apart from the other three than need.
Want.
Want. It's want. Let me clarify this. Can and could are typical, clear modal verbs, auxiliary verbs, modals. Need, as I told you, I think the first or the second week, need can be either a modal verb or a lexical verb. However, want can never be an auxiliary verb or a modal verb. It's always a lexical verb, main verb, okay? So that's why it's the odd one out. Okay, in B, Sergey Boyovich.
Yes, I'm here.
So, me, everyone, theirs, and every.
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, let's try it this way.
I would say theirs.
No. What is me as a part of speech? Let's try it this way.
Pronoun.
Me is a pronoun, yes, clearly. Everyone, again, is a
pronoun.
Pronoun, yes. Me is a personal pronoun. Everyone is a general pronoun. Theirs, again, has to be a, for instance, whose is this house? It's theirs.
Yes.
It has to be a pronoun again.
That's
but every,
right.
can every stand on its own? Is it really a pronoun?
No.
So you would always say every house, every child, every something, usually.
So that's a determiner, right?
That's a determiner then. And that's why it's the odd word out.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Is Bojan Stankovic here?
Yep, I'm here.
Good. So cowardly, hard, hardly, and soon. If it's easier for you, let's go one by one and let's try to see which part of speech they are. So cowardly, we've just mentioned cowardly today.
Yeah, it's an adjective.
It's an adjective. Good. Now, hard. It's not that easy to determine it for hard. Hard can be what? Either or. What?
Maybe an adverb?
Can be an adverb, like she works hard. But if you want to say that she is a worker, hard worker, then it's
an adjective?
Adjective. Okay, so hard can be either an adverb or an adjective. Good. Hardly. What about hardly?
That's an adjective.
Is it really? Do you say a hardly worker or something? Or would you
Oh,
say
an adverb, sorry.
hardly ever works, for instance?
That's an adverb then.
That's an adverb, yes. And soon, since it tells you something about the time when something happens and so on, it's clearly what? What do you think?
An adverb.
Again, an adverb. Very good. So we concluded that soon, hardly, and hard are all adverbs. Hard can also be an adjective, but these three are always can be adverbs. And what about cowardly? We said that it can only be
An adjective.
an adjective. So then it's
cowardly is the odd
cowardly.
word.
Yes, cowardly. This is the only one that is always just an adjective. Good. Let's find Angela Jankovic. Is she here? Can Angela hear us?
Profesorka, njoj ne radi mikrofon.
Ne radi joj mikrofon. Aj, jao, baš mi je žao. Je li ona pored vas ili je li vam javila ili kako?
Ne, nego je napisala u chatu.
Aha, dobro. Iskreno, ja sad ne gledam u taj ekran, nego samo u ovo, pa onda nisam videla ako je pisala svima. Ništa, žao mi je, eto, očigledno je nešto do njene tehnike, pošto, ne znam, i vama, ostalima i meni radi, pa eto, to su čari ovog načina rada, šta da kažem, mislim.
Ja s nekim ljudima isto pisali su poruke da im ne radi mikrofon, čisto da znate kad budete pogledali da znate zašto nisu odgovarali.
Dobro. Ne, ja kad nekog prozivam uopšte nije zato da bih, eto, ne znam, nešto isterivala, nego prosto, eto, hoću da što više ljudi učestvuje, a eto, možda sam ja kriva što ne gledam paralelno i na onaj drugi ekran, ali onda se ne mogu baš fokusirati na 3 strane, pošto imam ispred sebe prezentaciju, vežbanku, vaš spisak, tako da, dobro, nema veze. Dobro, evo, vi koji ste se javili za Anđelu, kažite onda, ko se javio?
Jovana Popović.
Aha, ajde, dobro, Jovana, svejedno. Kažite vi šta mislite ovde?
May.
Study, wish and live. Okay, very good, it's May. Why? What do you think?
Because it's an auxiliary. The rest one
This is auxiliary. Yeah, the others are lexical verbs. Good. Dobro, Vladimir Jović, jel nas čuje?
Yes. The next example.
Yes. At, during, downwards, and because of. Okay, you got a slightly more difficult one, I would say. Okay, let's start with at. That should be easy, at least. Could you ever say she is at, or let's meet at?
No, at is a preposition.
At is a preposition. Very good. The same thing with during. I met her during. We traveled to Brazil during. What?
No, we need the time when it happens.
Again, we need a noun phrase.
Yes.
So again, it's a
preposition.
However, if you say, where should I run? You say downwards, or just move upwards, just move downwards. You see, you don't need, nothing is obligatory after that. So what do you think?
It's an adverb.
It's an adverb. Very good. Now, I guess...
Because of is preposition too.
And because of is a preposition. Very good. Now, I guess that some of you are puzzled by, like, what the hell, why because of, why just not because, and so on. So if it's just because, then it's a conjunction. I mean, a regular conjunction, you know that. She's not here because she's ill. Or she will come because she needs your help. So this is clearly just a causal, the relationship of reason or cause, and that's why it's a conjunction. But if you use the unit because of, for instance, she didn't come because of the rain. I couldn't be with you because of my work. So as you can see, it's always followed by a noun phrase. Whenever it's followed by a noun phrase, it's a proof that this unit because of is a preposition. You see the difference between she didn't come because it was raining, which is a conjunction, and she didn't come because of the rain, which is a preposition, because you need a noun phrase after it, not a clause. Okay, so you did it well. At, during, and because of are prepositions. Downwards is an adverb, so clearly downwards is then the odd word out. Mind you, the last two examples, both in the workbook and in this presentation, because it was copied from the workbook, they contain a kind of technical error. There is no such word as luggage bag or because, but. I mean, they should be separated the way the first 5 examples were. So, advice, luggage bag, and accommodation. Okay, do we have Verica Kirchansky here?
I'm here.
Okay, Verica. So, advice, luggage bag, and accommodation. In this case, just let me help you, all of them are nouns. So it's not about finding another part of speech. It's about seeing which of these 4 nouns does not belong here for some reason. And it's up to you to discover the reason.
Could it be advice?
In this case, it's not advice. Maybe you were thinking about abstract and concrete nouns. Maybe in that case, advice is not a bad choice. In that case, it's not. It's acceptable, let's say, although the point was something else. Okay, let me help you here. Which of these can be pluralized normally? I mean,
bag.
She was carrying 2 bags. Can you say she was carrying 2 luggages?
No.
No, so you can only say 2 items of luggage or 2 pieces of luggage, okay? Or she gave me useful advices. Is that possible?
I'd say no.
No, advice is, again, it's not really uncountable, but it's not countable in this typical sense by adding the plural suffix. You would again say what if you want to count advice?
More advice.
You can't say an advice. She gave me a useful
advice, or.
But if you want to pluralize it, she gave me 2. You can't say 2 advices. 2 useful pieces of advice.
Mm-hmm.
Gave me a piece of advice. Otherwise, advice behaves like luggage. An item of luggage, a piece of advice, you see? Accommodation, you can't even pluralize it in that way. It's just accommodation. Is there any good accommodation in this town? Okay, not accommodations. Okay, so it's then bag.
So it's then bag.
Because it's the only one that has the regular plural suffix. And the last one, and, because, but, and to. Okay, Mara Gvozdenovic, is she here?
I'm here.
Good. Okay, Maro. And, because, but, and to. Let's go one by one. And would be what? That's very typical.
Conjunction.
A conjunction, good. Because we mentioned it today, again, would be?
Also a conjunction.
Also a conjunction. But.
And but is probably also the conjunction.
But is also a conjunction. And finally.
And to is not a conjunction.
To is not a conjunction, good. And that would be quite enough for this exercise, but let me help. To is an adverb. So to cannot be a conjunction. It's not even important at this point that you realize that you know that to is an adverb. It's just important that you realize that it can't be a conjunction, obviously. It can't join 2 clauses into one sentence. Okay, good. And the last exercise of this kind, which deals with clearly just determining the parts of speech, is number 4. Identify the word class of the underlined items. So the next one in the workbook, number 4, the shop closes for lunch. The shop closes for lunch, and we will try to find Danica Mitrovic.
I'm here.
Okay, Danica. So the shop closes for lunch.
The is
Uh-huh.
determiner.
Very good. The is a determiner.
And closes is a verb.
A verb. Excellent.
Yes.
Once again, all words that become before the noun, that determine the noun, but are not adjectives, of course here including articles, the and so on, they are all determiners. Okay, B, Luka Manojlovic.
Yeah, I'm here. Until, maybe an adverb.
And no, you are not far away from that temporal meaning. I know why you meant that it's an adverb, but actually try to use that test for adverbs. Can you ever say, please wait until? So it can't be an adverb then. It can't be a preposition either because it's not followed by a noun phrase, but look at they get ready. You have please wait and you have they get ready. You have to join them somehow because these are two separate clauses.
Maybe conjunction.
Conjunction, yes. The same thing we have in Serbian. Čekaj dok ne budu gotovi. Dok vremenski, zavisni vremenski veznik. Aha. Okay, C. Jovana Banjanin, is she here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Jovana. She and her mother are very close. So what do you think? Now, this is a very good one for repeating what we did last time and for forgetting about what Serbian says about her mother. So what do you think would...
Well, I wasn't there last time because
yeah, I see that you have a. I see that there is a minus next to your name last time, but
there was a car accident near.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. I mean, it won't be counted as a. I mean, it's not why I mentioned it. I just see that you were not here. So, okay.
Her might be a pronoun.
So that okay, that's logical that you think it is because that's what we do in Serbian. So we said last time that in English, if it's followed by a noun phrase, a noun, in this case mother, it can't be treated as a pronoun because there is no such combination in English as a pronoun plus a noun. So you can never have a pronoun next to a noun in English. What we call a personal pronoun in Serbian, njena majka, in English becomes a possessive, not personal, sorry, it's possessive pronoun in Serbian. It becomes a possessive determiner in English. So her is a determiner. It determines mother. It comes before the noun mother. It's not an adjective. So whatever comes before the noun modifies it and is not an adjective is called a determiner.
Okay.
Okay, so her is a determiner next to mother.
Very is a adjective.
Now,
Adverb.
very is an adverb. Exactly why? Because what comes is
an adjective.
An adjective, good. So because close is an adjective and adjectives can only be described or pre-modified by adverbs, that's why very is an adverb. So an adverb plus an adjective. That's the only possible sequence if there is something describing an adjective.
Okay, thank you for explaining the determiner.
Oh, no, you're welcome. We will repeat it as many times as it's necessary. So it's because it's very important and it's something that I know can confuse you because this is not the way it's analyzed in Serbian. I told you that, for instance, in French, they opted for another possibility. They call this adjectif possessif. So they call it a possessive adjective, which is, again, I would say better than a possessive pronoun, what we have in Serbian. But in English, it's a possessive determiner. Sorry, just a second. Okay, the next one. Please come closer. Jovan Ćirić. Can Jovan Ćirić hear us? Okay, if not, Branislava Vujanić. If Branislava is not here, then Aleksandra Ungur.
I'm here.
Okay, it's Alexandra.
Yes.
Okay, good. So please come closer. That's the next sentence. Okay, what about come? This should be clear.
Verb.
It's a verb. Good. Closer.
Maybe like adverb.
An adverb. Very good. Come where? Come closer. It's an adverb. The meeting was brought to a close. Let's see. Alexander Georgievich, is he here?
Yes.
The meeting was brought to a close.
Was is a verb.
Okay, let's stop here. You are not far away from the correct answer. And generally speaking, it does belong, broadly speaking, it does belong to verbs. But what did we say about this subcategory? If there is, not adverb, if there is another main verb next to it, it only helps the main verb. What do we call it? Brought is the main verb. So was is
A linking verb.
Okay, what do we call it? Auxiliary.
Auxiliary.
Pomoćni glagol, auxiliary verb. And it was brought to a close. I'm emphasizing this because this should help you determine what close is here.
A noun, maybe.
A noun, yes. So why is close interesting here? If you look at all these 3 or 4 examples, of course, with some minor differences in pronunciation, we had it as a verb, we had it as an adjective, we had it as a noun, we had it in its comparative form, come closer, and so on. So it's very interesting that you see that you can't really determine the part of speech unless you are given the whole sentence. Okay, the next one. Whose car is this? I can't see, I'm sorry, I can't see the first name, Zoric. Your name is? Jel kolega Zorić tu?
Stoji da je tu na listi, ali se ne odaziva.
Ok, možda je otišao nešto. Možda je otišao nešto da pojede. Da vidimo. Dobro, da li ima neko koga nisam prozvala? Meni jako žao, pošto sam, neću nikog... Evo, Ognjen Pajić, njega nisam prozvala. Je li on tu?
Jesam.
Dobro, ajde Ognjene. Whose car is this? Ok, se sećate možda toga, ispisivala sam na tablu prošli put primjer sa whose house. Rekla sam whose house is this i onda whose is this house, pa smo gledali šta je whose. Pa ovo mi isto samo sa car is this.
So this should be a pronoun.
Now, is it a pronoun if it's followed by a car? By car.
Oh, no, it's
that other one when it's followed by a noun.
It's a determiner.
It's a determiner. Good.
And then whose is the
well,
other one? I forgot the name.
Whose is a determiner, yes. And this is then what?
A pronoun.
Then this is a pronoun. Very good. So once again, since whose does not stand on its own here, but is followed by a noun, it has to be a determiner. Since this is on its own, instead of saying whose car is this car, you see, it actually replaces this car. It has to be a pronoun because it does replace a noun which has been left out. Okay, G. Jelena Kurilic, is she here? Okay, if not, Tamara Ristic. Maybe she was put... tu ste, dobro. Je li došla do vas, pošto smo vas slučajno možda stavili u grupu A na listu?
Nekako je došla, našla sam.
Izvinjavamo se, to je kad je pravljena ova lista, takav smo dobili spisak, ne znam zašto.
Postoje dve Tamare.
Aha, pa dobro. Ok, važno da ste tu. I think that you are right. Ok, šta bi bilo that? Mislim da si u pravu.
Maybe a determiner, I don't know.
Is it really a determiner? Does you depend on it? Does it describe you? Dakle, pazite, nije sad, ajde da raščistimo, nije sve što ide ispred imenice, iako ovo čak i nije imenica, ali nije sve što ide ispred imenice determinator. Ako vi kažete, recimo, ne znam, she's in London, pa nije onda in determinator zato što je to London. To je predlog zato što je mesni odnos u pitanju. A sad ovde that zaista nema veze sa you, nego mislim da i onda ide cela rečenica zavisna. Šta biste i u srpskom rekli da? Imate, recimo, nisam shvatila i onda da si, ne znam, otišla iz zemlje. Nisam shvatila da si, imate otišla si iz zemlje i imate nisam shvatila. Na neki način morate to da povežete. So what do you use for linking, for connecting?
Conjunctions?
Conjunction, yes. Sad pazite, u neku ruku je Tamara dobro rekla, ne, nije dobro rekla u ovom slučaju, ali naravno da that može biti determiner. Evo, ako kažete that house is nice, evo ga, that is a determiner. Ali isto tako može biti i pronoun. Naprimjer, come, see that, uzvik. Look at that. Naravno, replacing look at that house or look at that table. Okay, so in this case, it's a conjunction. Okay, what is a? What part of speech is a here? So B, it is B actually. In the
auxiliary.
Okay, now, is it here an auxiliary? Yes, it can be an auxiliary. Tipa, you are swimming. Really. But is it an auxiliary here? If it's an auxiliary, it needs to have another main verb. Can you find another verb here? I mean, is there another verb here? If there is no other verb, then it can't be an auxiliary. Because auxiliaries help other verbs.
Yeah.
So if it's not an auxiliary, then it's a verb. It's the main verb. Like she is a student. He is handsome. She is attractive. Okay, so that's a verb. Right. Like you are happy. You are sad. You are beautiful. You are right.
It's an adjective.
It's an adjective here. Be careful with right. It can again be all kinds of things depending on how it is used in the sentence. Here, it's an adjective. But what would it be if you say, for instance, you can't right all the wrongs in the world? What would that be? You can't right all the wrongs in the world.
Adverb.
You can't write something.
I don't know.
A verb. A verb, yes. Ne možeš ispraviti sve nepravde. It would be a verb. What if you say she's fighting for human rights? Human rights.
Noun.
Noun. You even have the plural ending. Yes, you see. What if you say turn right? Should I turn left or right? No, turn right. What would that be then? Like turn where? Right.
An adverb.
That would be an adverb, you see. So right can be an adjective, an adverb, a verb, and a noun. You can't determine what it is in isolation. You have to have the whole sentence. Okay, and the last one, which actually contains a very stupid error. So please add in your workbooks, please add a comma here. Run along, comma, children. Otherwise, it could be interpreted, I don't know. somehow in a very stupid way. You don't run along children. you tell children to run along. So run along, comma, children. So let's ask. Has maybe Philip joined us in the meantime? Dimoski, Philip?
Philip said that he sent you an email that he cannot join.
Okay. Then is there anyone who is here and whom I haven't contacted yet? I've tried to include everyone so far, at least I think so. Okay, anyway, if all of you have said something, then okay, Mila Jovic.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, run along, comma, children. Be careful, there has to be a comma, otherwise it's can be interpreted it's very awkward.
Maybe an adverb?
Yes, it's an adverb, of course. If there is no comma, then you can maybe see it as a preposition, and then you have a very, I don't know, stupid image in your mind, like you run along children, but what, I don't know. So run along, comma, children. And that's an adverb because you don't need a noun phrase after a long. It's like keep off or go upstairs or something like that. Children is just here to call their attention, like what we have in the vocative case in Serbian. Good. And now, that was the last exercise of this kind. Parts of speech, if you remember, so we are doing something else now, but it's just a reminder of something that you did with Sasha in the lecture. If you remember that all open class parts of speech, and open class parts of speech are nouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs, they can be subdivided into two big groups according to a more semantic criterion. Semantic has to do, of course, with meaning, and in this case has to do with how a certain activity or a certain notion unfolds. They can be stative or dynamic. Typically, nouns and adjectives are stative. Typically, verbs and adverbs are dynamic. Why am I stressing this typically? Because there are, of course, exceptions. There are stative verbs and adverbs, and there are dynamic nouns and adjectives, but basically, generally speaking, stative meaning that they have a kind of stative quality to them, unchanging, stable, as opposed to dynamic, meaning that they are more transient, that they change, that something moves, that something changes, that something develops. This is typically related to verbs and adverbs. So we are going to do one exercise in connection with that, and we will skip 2 in the workbook, 5 and 6, and it's exercise 7. So exercise 7 in the workbook indicate whether the underlined form is stative or dynamic. This is the one that you should all see on your screen now. And if you can, and if you have your workbooks in front of you, then open the workbooks on page 24, exercise 7. Okay, so indicate whether the underlined form is stative or dynamic. Again, nothing can be stative or dynamic on its own. You have to look at it, you have to see it in the sentence, in the context. Okay, Marko Adžić. Smell this milk. Does it smell bad? What do you think? Which of these two is dynamic and which is stative?
Smell. The first smell, that is, smell this milk, is dynamic.
The first one is dynamic.
And the second one is stative. I'm not arguing right, but that's my opinion.
So the first one is dynamic, and that's for certain because it's in the imperative mood.
Yeah.
You are ordering someone to do something, obviously, to perform an activity, that is smell this milk. But if you say, does it smell bad, then you are referring to a characteristic or to a property of the milk. And the milk doesn't do anything. It simply smells or doesn't smell bad, and that's why it's stative. Good.
I just want to apologize for my connection. You see, a half an hour ago, it just disconnected itself. My internet is very bad.
I'm very sorry to hear that, and I hope that you can. I mean, I don't mind. I can hear you. I can decipher what you are saying, but I hope that you can follow what we are doing.
Will this class be uploaded somewhere?
Yes. Well, all my voice itself is not being recorded because we are not supposed to do that in practice classes. But everything with these solutions will be uploaded on the website, the course website. So you will find this all with all solutions the way we are doing it now on the website.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Okay, you're welcome. The next one is we are having a party. So, for instance, okay, Sara Samardzic.
This is dynamic.
It's dynamic, clearly, and there is again a good test for it. And this is how I actually wanted to revise the tests with you, not to mention them beforehand. So, smell this milk in the previous one is in the imperative mood. And we are having a party is in the progressive aspect, what you called continuous aspect in secondary school. These are very good tests. If you can use the verb in the imperative and the progressive, it proves that the verb is used dynamically. Okay, good. Jovana Davidovic, I have two brothers.
Stative.
This is stative, clearly. So you're not having two brothers, you have two brothers, and that's a fact. D, I cannot answer the question. I don't know the answer. Andrea Anojčić. Can Andrea hear us?
I think Andrea mentioned that.
She's the one. Okay, I'm sorry. Then Dunja Knežev.
Yes.
Okay, Dunja. I can't answer the question. I don't know the answer.
Answer is dynamic, and
yes.
no is stative.
Stative, very good. So no is a kind of state. You either know something or not. You can't be knowing the answer. On the other hand, answering the question is an activity, regardless of the fact whether you can or cannot answer, but that's an activity, that's dynamic. Okay, E, he's usually well behaved, but now he's just being silly. Let's try to contact Jovan Lazičić.
He is a stative, I believe.
Stative, very good. Especially when you have this usually, you see. So this is a kind of permanent state.
Well behaved would be stative too.
Again, stative because of this whole context. Usually well behaved.
Just being silly, a dynamic.
Yes. So both being and silly are dynamic. Because in this case, look at the aspect, it's the progressive aspect. He is just being silly, which means that it is happening at the moment, or at least temporarily. So it's not his permanent property, it's not his permanent characteristic, it's how he's behaving right now. Okay, good. F, I'm seeing the manager tomorrow. Milivoj Popov.
I think it is dynamic verb.
Yes, I'm seeing the manager tomorrow is dynamic because it doesn't really have to do with the verb of perception, to see, but in the sense I'm meeting the manager tomorrow, it's an activity. Okay, Jovan Čirić, is he here? If Jovan cannot hear us, then Mara Gvozdenović.
I'm here.
The bottle holds 2 liters.
It's probably stated because
Stated,
it
yes.
will always hold 2 liters.
Okay, does the bottle actually do anything here?
No, it like
It's
yeah,
just
you can
how,
put 2 liters of water.
it's just practically, and to put it simply, it's just how big the bottle is. Okay, so it's just its characteristic, how much liquid it can hold. The next one, hold this for a minute, please. Lalić Svetlana.
Is it dynamic?
This is dynamic, and clearly it's in the imperative mode. So you're ordering someone to do something, and that's why it's dynamic. And the last one, I'm getting tired. Could you get me a chair? I'm getting tired. Could you get me a chair? Okay, let's ask Vladimir Jović.
I'm here. So
number 7, the last one. I'm getting tired.
Yes, I know. I'm thinking about it.
Think.
I'm getting tired. It's dynamic.
Yes, clearly, because it's used in the progressive aspect, and it signifies, it shows a kind of change, a kind of progression. And again, get me a chair. I mean, you have to do something.
It's dynamic too.
It's dynamic again, so it's not always about showing contrast. It's sometimes that really both of them are dynamic, or both of them are stative. In this case, both are dynamic. Okay. And the last thing we are going just to mention today, and then I will have to stop because I have to hand over some of my technical equipment to Sasha for his next class. Parts of speech and heads of phrases. I would kindly ask you to just try to revise this, look at this from your lectures, and try just to summarize in your head what kinds of phrases exist. So there are 5 kinds of phrases in the English language. You define them by the head element, by the central element, by what other elements modify in the phrase. So there are noun phrases, adjective phrases, verb phrases, adverb phrases, and prepositional phrases in English. For your homework, please just do exercise 5. It won't take up more than, I don't know, 3 or 5 minutes of your time. Exercise 5, identify the type of phrase and circle its head. So it's the 5th exercise on page 22 in your workbooks. And this is where we are going to continue next time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the screen with us. And I'm sorry I can't see you in person anymore. But anyway, this is better than nothing. So we will try to continue the way we started today.
Thank you, Professor.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.